If you want to hire an agency or freelancer to manage your growth marketing for you, it's incredibly important that you properly vet them so you can make sure that you're dealing with true professionals who will drive the best possible outcomes for your business. One of the ways to do that is that you ask them the right questions during the first call that you have with them, so you can see if they are true subject matter experts and if they have the vision and can develop the vision quickly on how they want to drive your brand's growth forward. So what I've done is I've listed my favorite 10 interview questions that I would ask on a call with an agency to properly vet them. I also have 2 more bonuses at the end that can help you even more make sure that you hire true professionals who will drive amazing outcomes. By the way, if you're interested to learn more about the topic, I already recorded tons of videos on how to find amazing agencies, how to supervise and manage them properly, how the onboarding process should be done so you can equip them with everything that they need to produce best outcomes, and also how to make sure that you never make a bad deal when you start working with an agency. So you'll find them somewhere around or on the channel. All right, let's dive right in. Why is this important? Obviously, I mentioned this already now in the introduction. You want to work with professionals, you want to work with incredible professionals. We discussed in one of the previous videos that in the last 18 months alone, over 5,000 new growth marketing agencies were opened up in the US, I think there was. So there are so many agencies that the normal person cannot even keep up, and it's incredibly hard sometimes to understand who really knows what they're doing, especially, and this is very new and people don't really realize it yet, but especially in a world where image generation by AI is so good that you can fake case studies, you can fake screenshots. I've made a post on my LinkedIn on that topic that you can completely fake Shopify revenue screenshots now. So, it's important that you jump on a call with them and you workshop their ideas so you can understand if they're true professionals. So what I've done is I put together a guide with exact questions to ask and what to look for. Why are we asking this question? What entails a great answer, so you know that they're answering great, right? And what are some red flags that you should look out for to avoid when you want to hire an agency? So let's go through them one by one. By the way, if you want this document, if you want this guide, you can just drop a comment below and then I'll make it accessible for everybody. Cool. Alrighty. So first question, show me a meta ad account in my vertical where you improved ROAS in the last 6 months. What exact levers did you pull? All right. This question right away goes into the no nonsense, show me what you've done, fire up a screen share even, or you can, if that's too sensitive, you can ask them to send you a Loom recording once the call is done where they can blur out and hide the client's name. I totally understand that you want to be very careful there as an agency, but you can ask that, right? And then get the Loom recording with the company's name not visible, okay? What we're looking for is actual verification that they're operating ad accounts and that they're producing outcomes, ideally even in our vertical. Now, if you watch some of our earlier videos, you know that for media buying, the vertical sub or specialist in your vertical doesn't really matter. When it comes to content and offer creation, then it does matter. So it really depends on where you want to supplement your weaknesses and the type of agency you're looking for, right? If you're looking for sort of a generalist agency just to get started, then obviously it can be any sort of ad account. Try at least though to have some sort of, if you're selling products online, you want to have an ad account or ad accounts that they've managed where they also sold products online, not just generated leads, for example. Right? And it should be recent. Best practices change in Meta almost every quarter, I would say. Every 3 to 6 months, there are major changes and things change quite a lot in terms of also the outcome you can drive. So it should be recent. Amazing. You kind of want to have a screen share. You kind of want to see the account, right? You want to understand optimizations that they've done and exact ideas that they've implemented. So you know that they were the ones also really operating the ad account and managing the ad account. And you can kind of grasp their strategic thinking about audience management, about creative testing, bidding, doesn't matter how to go about it. What really drives outcomes for businesses like me right now on Meta ads. All right. Red flags, obviously, if they're just vague numbers, if they don't really know details. I wrote here refusal to screen share due to confidentiality. This is maybe a bit harsh. I would get that point actually. But if they can make a screen recording afterwards, I think that would be a great supplement. Question number 2. What is your median lift in ROS / drop in cost per acquisition or cost per lead, right? After 90 days across your client base last year. Why 90 days? It does take longer to prove impact on at least Meta ads. Over the last year and a half, I really noticed that. Used to be that within a month you can tell if someone knows what they're doing or not. Now it's more 2.5, or 1.5. So towards the second half of the second month, that's where I see typically performance improve. If you start completely from scratch, if you're already a big advertiser, typically in the first 30 days you can prove some impact. That's true. But if you start out from scratch, 90 days is a good time window. And ideally, they have some sort of case studies ready. They have some sort of statistics on that, and you want to get a concrete median outcome. So you can really vet their track record. Now, who exactly will manage my account? What percentage of the weekly capacity is allocated, and what is their Meta ads experience? Why does this matter? With big agencies, you're dealing with sales representatives. You're not dealing with the actual person who will manage your ad accounts. But that's the one. That's the person you're buying. That's the service you're buying, right? So you want to, number one, deal with the actual person that will run your ad account. You at least want to meet them once and have these kinds of discussions with them, right? And you want to know what's their capacity, especially with big agencies. You want to make sure that they're attentive, that you can reach out to them anytime, that there's some sort of instant messaging where you can reach out to them in case there's anything going wrong. And very important, you want to have insight into the performance. And ideally, you want to have an interactive real-time dashboard where you can check on performance all the time. Now, this shouldn't make you scared. It's very normal that on Facebook, for example, you have a very bad day or even 2 bad days, and then the third day is amazing, and that makes up for the bad days. Don't freak out your media buyer just because there's a day of bad performance, yeah. But you should have some sort of real-time access so you can kind of see what's going on and you're connected to your own business, right? Fantastic. Now, walk me through your creative testing framework, how many net new concepts per month, and what KPIs decide a winner. That's important because creative and content becomes more and more important to drive outcome. It's a little bit different, I would say, for e-commerce businesses that sell fashion, jewelry, or art. Because fashion, jewelry, and art businesses, they do incredibly well on Meta with an ad format called dynamic product ads. So you're connecting your product catalog from Shopify or WooCommerce to Facebook, and they then create a carousel experience where they show your products that you can swipe through, and it shows different products to different people depending on what they think they would be interested in your product catalog. And those ads tend to perform incredibly well for fashion, jewelry, and arts businesses. So every kind of product where you just look at it and you understand what it is, right? And so there may be creative testing as a little bit less of relevance, but still, across the board, it tends to become a really important pillar. And you want to learn, how do they think about creative testing? What's their process? How many ads? Do they need stuff from me? Can they produce content all on their own, right? And then how do they think about producing the content, right? So I think that's really important, and you really want to look for focus on return on ad spend or cost per lead, not vanity metrics like click-through rate or impressions or cost per website visitor. You always care about the bottom line. You should not ever get distracted by someone who brings you tons of clicks or tons of traffic. That never matters. Ultimately, what matters is this advertising making me a more profitable, bigger, faster growing business? And the media buyer should optimize against that, and they should run creative tests against that as well. So listen to the kind of KPIs they talk about. Do they talk about click-through rates and engagement and those kinds of things, or do they talk about cost per purchase, return on ad spend, lifetime value, sales qualified leads, cost per lead, lead conversion rate? Those are the real things that matter to you. Which attribution model do you default to? How do you reconcile discrepancies between Meta, Google Analytics 4, and my CRM? So, obviously you don't have to use Google Analytics 4 here, but use any sort of example. What are we touching on here? Different it's very hard to understand true revenue impact from Meta ads, from Google ads, all these different channels. Quick example. Let's say you are running Facebook ads. Someone sees your ad. They love your brand. They then Google your brand to check out reviews. And then on Google, they click on a link or a Google ad that you run, and then they go to the website and then they buy. Now, Facebook will say they generated that sale, and Google will say they generated that sale. So the question is, who actually did? And where should we spend more money? That's something that they should be able to answer. And they should be able to tell you exactly how they're going to set this up so that you will know exactly where the customers are coming from or your leads are coming from and then where to put money. This is also incredibly important if you then later want to put them on a commission plan or some sort of revenue share agreement or anything like that. You want to establish a common source of truth, and they should do a solid job with that. Describe a time performance tanked, how long to detect, diagnose. So yeah, this is just to kind of show, like how to problem solve. Again, touch into the analytical skills with them, and kind of see, how do they think about how frequently do they operate their ad accounts or supervise their ad accounts, and how do they problem solve. How do you structure fees, and what mechanisms align your incentives with mine? I added this question here because in the previous videos we talked about a pricing guide, right? What is a fair fee for an agency? What kind of pricing structure to agree with them? And I added this here because you don't necessarily have to come up with this yourself, right? You can also, it's a relationship, right? So you want to figure out what kind of compensation excites you to give me amazing amounts of attention and do a great job here. Of course, you want to create something that excites both of you guys, right? The best deal is a win-win deal. What proprietary tech or data partnerships give you an edge on the Meta Ads platform or any other platform for that matter? What you're looking for is innovation and thought leadership, right? So are they one step ahead? Are they looking for that additional alpha? Are they using most recent tools to give you best outcomes, right? And then how will you expand beyond Meta when saturated? Now, saturated is in quotation marks, right? You could argue there's always new audiences coming into the ecosystem. Now they unlocked ads on Threads and stuff like that. But eventually you want to diversify into multiple advertising channels, because if one advertising channel goes down, then that's obviously not very good for you. So you want to have that diversity, and also you can tap into different audiences so you can drive further growth, obviously, if you activate TikTok or Pinterest or Google or other channels. And then what do we ask this question? We want to know if they can grow with us. And here again, make sure that they provide evidence, right? Like, hey, amazing, show me, how, do you have an example of a brand in my space that you then, started on Meta and then you went into Google advertising? Can you eventually pull up a case study on that if you have one? Or can you include that in your screen recording video? I'm just curious how you think about it, and when should we start thinking about going into other advertising channels? You can also ask them, what advertising channel should we begin with if you don't even know at this point, and try to get their reasoning behind that properly. No? Good. And then, who owns the data, pixels, and creative assets produced during our engagement? Very important. I see a lot of brands at adamigo.ai that start working with us who then say, we should have an ad account. We're running ads for 3 years. And then they switch over to Adamigo, and turns out the agency ran away with their ad account and their pixel because they were the ones actually owning it and created everything. And then it's not the end of the world, but you have to start from zero. You have to get new learning on that pixel, or now it's called data set. And it'll take some time to sort of revamp everything when you had a perfectly populated and well-trained pixel and ad account already existent. And so you got to make sure when you negotiate the agreement with them that you're the one owning this account. There are some very few exceptions where you could argue that it makes sense that the agency has one account and one pixel. If they run a bunch of different businesses that are in the same niche, they can benefit from that. But you always want to have another pixel that you own that gets populated with your data as well, so that you don't start from zero if it comes to an end. Now, bonuses. Ask for a Meta Ads account audit. You can do that, right? You can say, hey, would it be fine if I share with you analyst access and you take a look into the account, and we can have another call, or you can write up a quick summary of how you think about improving performance for us in the next, 30 to 90 days. You can do that. You can can sign an NDA if you want to. Not sure if that's perfectly necessary, but you can do that. What you can also do, I don't know how confident you are, and I don't know how it depends on the situation, but I'm a big fan of just firing up the screen share. I typically use Zoom for calls, and then I fire up the screen share, pull up my ad account, and you can have remote control. So the other person on the phone or on the call with you can take over your mouse control, and they can navigate through that account and like, hey, let's take a look. What do you think? And obviously you can tell them, right? Like, I'm not looking to get like free information here, right? Work with each other, but just I want to kind of see, do you see opportunities in this account? Do you see a way that you can provide tremendous opportunities so that we have a great successful relationship and we end up working over the next months and years together, right? Just point out a little bit how you think about the account and some insights you see on how you can, or you think you can, provide quick value, right? And then ask for a messaging and ad design concept. It's something you can do as well. It's more important nowadays that you get great content as well, right? And if that person also wants to help you with that, ask them like, hey, take a look at my ads. You can go to what's called the Facebook ads library. I wrote it down here. You can just Google that, Facebook ads library. You can pull up your Facebook page, and then it will show all your ads that you're running, and they can audit them. Like, hey, how can we make those ads better? What are some new ad ideas that you kind of can think of right now? And obviously I'm putting you on the spot, but let's just have some fun. Let's brainstorm a little bit, right? Or if you don't have that, hey, looking at my website, who do you think are my ideal customer personas, right? What do you think are their pains, wants, and needs, right? To sort of understand, can they put together a psychological profile that you can then market against, right? And then do you have any unique messaging angles that we could try out given those ideal customer personas? Just try to workshop with them a little bit to see if that creative vein is present. Amazing. Last but not least, there's a bit of a scorecard, so you can go through all the questions, give them a score, and if the score in the end is great, then okay, you're dealing with an amazing agency, and whoever has the highest score, you ultimately obviously should think about hiring. If you want to see if an AI agent can do this work for you, so you plug an AI agent into your ad account, it creates the campaigns, it creates the ads, it creates the audiences, it manages the budgets, it runs everything for you, just like an agency would. You can check out adamigo.ai. It's an AI agent company that me and my co-founder created that automates completely running meta ads with the power of AI agentic technology. It starts for as low as $99 a month with a money back guarantee, so you can plug it in within 5 minutes, you'll be good to go, and it will start running the ad account for you on autopilot. So if you want, you can check that out, and hopefully this video was valuable, and thanks so much. Bye-bye.